Happy Monday. Welcome back to the lab. I'm Seth, and I'm here with Kel and Cody, and we're going to talk about poop today because one of you motherfuckers told us not to. So this entire episode is going to be about poop. Don't think I didn't see. I look at Cody's stories. So anyway, how's your guys' dookies going? Mine are pretty good.
Sorry. You froze for a second, but it could have just been me, so I don't know what you said.
You also froze, so...
Okay, so...
I heard you. The Ohio internet is lasting.
You better knock on wood, because...
Sure, that's a good point.
2 seconds later, you're just going to disappear.
Well, that's right. Right before the live this weekend, our power went out. And I'm like, Cody's going to kill us.
I'm just on there by myself.
It's not, all my food's going to go bad in the fridge. It's like, Cody's going to kill me.
I'm like, I guess I'm doing this for myself.
Well, as long as I just didn't get in the fridge, it would have been okay for a while.
That's the kind of shit I think about. I'm like, man, what am I going to do? You guys know there's a really cool trick you can do if you lose power while you're out. Do you know what I'm going to say? Well, you freeze. Yes.
Stay out.
You freeze. Whenever I leave town for like one day, because I'm a paranoid son of a bitch, freeze a cup of water, usually like a paper cup or something like that, and you put like a coin on top of the frozen water. So say like a quarter or something. Put it in the freezer, and if you get back, if the quarter is at the bottom of the cup, don't eat your food. It means it defrosts. Out. So anyway, yeah. So for all you paranoid people out there,
yeah. My fridge broke when I was in prep a million years ago, and I remember, and my landlord was terrible. So he's like, "I'm not gonna get to it for a couple days," and I'm like, "What the fuck? I can only eat the food that I have." Like, so I had my whole kitchen. I got like 6 different big coolers and just like laid them out. It was very ghetto. I'm like, whatever. I'll figure it out then.
Man, so stupid. Well, I got power and food. So.
How y'all doing?
Yeah, good. No. How about you guys? Anything new?
No. I had those fancy cookies last night, and they were amazing.
So
it's my treat meal.
Is that like
good.
Every brand, there's another brand that gets created to be a competitor. So, there's like McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell and Del Taco, and then there's Crumble, but there hasn't really been a competitor yet. But yours looked so similar to Crumble. The boxes were blue, kind of like a Tiffany blue, and Crumbles are pink. So I feel like someone's trying to kind of create competition.
It might be. They were more... I've never had crumble cookies, but these were more from my friend who I went with, said that these are more stuffed as opposed to the toppings being on top. So they were more like Fat and Weird cookies, if you've had those before, than they were
frosting
like
and
flat. Yeah, they had a little bit of frosting, but it was like peanut butter, so it was like yum. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious how they would stack up next to Crumble. They looked good, but
the one that I liked the most was reverse Reese cup. So it was like a peanut butter cookie with chocolate in the middle.
That's creative.
To me, that sounds like that would be better because I did see on the box that it said to put it in the oven, so you get like fresh.
Oh yeah, you could have. I microwaved it.
Whereas like Crumble, I mean, unless you're getting one of the cold cookies, which I usually prefer. The cold crumble cookies over
the pink one. The pink one is cold and it's amazing.
But no. I love a cookie in general. We have a cookie place near here. It's not Crumble, but it's like local. It's called Cookie Crisp. Shout out to Cookie Crisp, Williamsburg, Virginia. But those taste like your mother made them if she could bake. No offense, Mom.
Not my mom.
But my mom. When you're like, Grandma, where's my cookies or whatever? They taste like someone's grandma's in the back making those cookies. But yeah, cookies are a problem.
Cody's old enough but I don't think Seth is. But when malls were a big thing, but do you remember the cookie place in the mall? Because I remember it used to fill the whole mall with like cookie smell. It was the Great American Cookie.
Fields. That's in every single mall.
Fields.
Yeah, those are fancy. But I just remember it looked like the one that I used to go to had like it. You know how like popcorn is like in a big thing and you can see it through the plexiglass?
Oh,
it was like that with chocolate chip cookies. It was amazing.
That sounds yeah. Well, now there's like Cinnabon and Wetzel's pretzels and all the other, junk food that you could. Yeah, it's
mall thing.
Yeah,
Annie Ann's pretzels.
So there's a lot of different smells in the mall. So if you go there to get your steps in, be careful you don't step right up to the Cinnabon counter. I mean, it's tempting every time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't you go?
Well, that's like when I worked in the donut shop. It was terrible because we had, the donut factory. It wasn't a shop, but anyways, we made the Taco Bell Cinnabon donuts, and it was the best thing ever. Like I never had them, but
Just
they were
for the
good.
record, how long did you work there?
I worked there for a year and a
I
half.
would've put on 100 fucking pounds working at a donut factory. Hats off to you, sir. Because weren't you? Let's say a year and a half. I mean, I don't know.
I was in prep.
I don't know, man.
I didn't have any of our donuts until like 6 months in. Because I had started right after I started prep. So like a month into it. So I went a long time without having tasting our products.
Good nut.
It was hard because it was like one of those places that like smelled up the whole town. Like it wasn't like just the factory.
In there for everybody, like.
Oh yeah, and I worked for the quality department, so our job was literally to like taste
just quality,
it.
Just quality check here. Just eating all these donuts.
It's like if I could taste it, it would be up to standard. Perhaps.
I remember one of our big fights that Maddie and I had when I was on prep was I brought her donuts home on like my first day, and I was so excited about them because I'm like, please try these and tell me how they are. And I brought like 6 donuts or something, and she let them go stale, and I was so furious.
I can't even. How dare you?
You didn't eat them?
She's probably just like, well, I didn't want to make you feel bad.
She was like, I'm not a big into donuts like you are. And I'm like, I don't care.
Never know.
I don't care.
Hunger.
Oh, man.
But I get it.
Good times. Glad I don't work in a donut factory anymore.
Well, I'm glad I don't work in a kitchen anymore because, yeah, it is a little rougher when you are in prep and you got food all around you and stuff. But at the same time, like people think that, I mean, people think that working in a kitchen, you're going to gain a shit ton of weight and stuff. But I feel like most people lose weight because kitchens are so stressful and you don't have time to actually eat. So the whole don't trust a skinny chef thing is not real. Like you can trust a skinny chef. It probably means they actually work. So.
Plus, they're like I feel like most of the people who are like chefs are just like running on nicotine and energy drinks.
So all the
yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's new with you guys? Anything exciting in your lives?
No, not really. That was the most exciting thing. I'm supposed to go to Florida next week, but we'll see if that happens. Fun. So, yeah. So I want to do my golden retriever's 12, and she loves the water and being dirty, and I really want to take her to the beach and let her see the ocean before she passes. And not that she's sick or anything, but she's getting up there. And so we were going to do Betty's bucket list and take her to the ocean. My mom has a townhouse on the Gulf side,
Like Tampa?
It's like
or-
12-hour drive from Ohio. It's
Oh.
called Navarre. It's between Destin and Fort
I know where that is.
and Pensacola. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
We'll see.
I definitely want to see the documentation of her bucket list because that's amazing.
Of course.
Yeah.
I want a
Of Betty's
slow
bucket
mo,
list.
like watching Betty just run on the beach, Baywatch style, with the Baywatch music. Yes,
Hair
yes,
flying.
That's what I picture. So you're gonna have to make that happen.
Obviously, and I think she'll really enjoy sand also because she really likes dirt. So I think sand's going to be a big hit.
Related. right?
She sounds like my kind of girl.
She drives me crazy because so our backyard doesn't grow grass very much, and she'll go out there and just roll in the dirt or on the concrete. She's not picky, but she comes in with like grass stain all over her face. She has like a powder sugar face, so she has grass stain all over her white face. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Or like mud caked into her fur. And I'm like, this is disgusting.
Oh, dogs. That's fun.
Pigpen. Yeah, I'm sure people love to hear it.
Like,
Just
what
shooting
is
the
this?
shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had my first ambulance ride last week, so that was fun. I guess I could.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
let's
okay,
catch us
so-
up on that.
So I don't know, for anyone who doesn't know or does know or whatever. Well, I guess I haven't really told the whole story anywhere, so you're hearing it here first. But yeah, so first ambulance ride of my life, which happened to fall on me and Dez's 1-year anniversary. So her gift to me was calling 911. So thanks, babe. So yeah, Wednesday started like every other Wednesday. I got up, I started making my breakfast. Nothing was weird. It was all just the regular Wednesday. And so first thing I did as I started taking a sip of this like Gatorade electrolyte stuff that Des had got me because I had been sick and I was pretty dehydrated. So first thing I just started I took a chug of that, put it down. I felt a little bit of like a stomach cramp, a little twinge, but didn't think anything of it because then it just normally is like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to shit soon, whatever. So I just kind of did my usual morning routine, went to sit down to eat, and things just kind of started escalating. Like the more bites I took, kind of like the worse it kept getting. Didn't quite stop until it got so bad where I had to like stand up. And this was basically 30 to 15 minutes before we have a meeting weekly, right? We have this lab meeting weekly. And I think it was, I don't remember who texted. Was it Seth or Cal? It was like, we still
I think
get
it was me.
for 9 or 12 for you guys. And this was basically me right when that was texted was when everything kind of started escalating. And then I didn't text back right away because I was like, let me see where this goes. But then I think it was maybe, I don't know how, was it 5 minutes till? I don't know. I finally so I was standing up basically. I got up from my chair because it was so painful I couldn't sit anymore. So I stood up and I was just like trying to walk, like trying to like see if I could get it to like chill out. Couldn't. I think Daz was in the bathroom. As soon as she came out, I went in because I'm thinking, do I have to use the bathroom? Like, what is happening? But not really. So I decided to lay down on the bathroom floor just to see if I could like get it to chill. I was just like, I don't know. That was my instinct. Lay on the floor, like see if it'll pass. Yeah,
Does
this one
feel
didn't. So pain just kept getting worse and worse, and to the point where I was like, it was bad. I started getting sweaty and clammy and didn't know what was going on. But I had my headphones and glasses on still. I just took everything off my head, got myself up off the ground. I went and like sat on the toilet, and I was just like, I had no idea what was happening. And I audibly was now groaning to the point where I'm like, Des is probably going to be like, what is happening in there? And so I was nauseous I thought I was gonna
So
throw
sexy.
up or pass out. I don't know. I had the trash can like in front of me while I was on the toilet, and so I'm just like over the trash can and stuff. And I'm just like, what? What did I eat something? I don't know. Um, it was just this like really hardcore pain in my side, like I was being stabbed or it was tearing apart. Like moving hurt, everything hurt, sitting hurt, standing hurt, laying hurt. I couldn't get rid of it. So finally I texted Des and I was just like, I have the worst stomach cramps. Oh my God. Like that's all I could text her. Just so I'm like, if I hear me moaning, this is what's happening. So finally I like also texted you, I think maybe a little bit later. I was just like, I am sick, guys. Cause like I could hardly get like pick up my phone to even text you guys. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, they're gonna think I'm just blowing them off. But
No,
I
I thought
could
you were
not.
dying. No, I was like, man,
I don't just normally like blow off meetings like 5 minutes before, but I was like, oh my gosh, I really am not going to be able to do this. So I texted you guys and I was just like, I'll explain more later was my mind thought at that point. And so I make my way over to the bed finally and I lay down and Des, is like basically kind of what's kind of like if my memory fails me, it's because I am like blackout in pain at this point. But so I'm trying to find a comfortable spot. Right side, left side, back. I don't know. Back was definitely the worst. Left side was not good. I found a point on my right side where I could kind of be less in pain, but not completely, obviously. So time just keeps passing. I keep telling her, I'm like, I'm probably just constipated. It's going to pass. It's fine. Just let me sit here for a bit. Time just keeps passing. It's only getting worse. And so she calls the nurse line on the back of my insurance card. I mean, good thinking on her part, right? So, yeah.
I didn't even know there was one.
So she calls that, and the nurse was basically like asking me what, or asking her, and Des was asking me. And I'm still like, like when she's on the phone with this lady, it's escalating essentially. And she asked if it's like a tearing pain or a stabbing, whatever. I'm like, it's like tearing and stabbing. And then she basically was like, you need to call 911. And I was just like, fuck no, we are not calling 911. And so Daz is like, okay, I'm giving you 20 more minutes. And then we're at least going to the ER or urgent care or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, it's just not going away. At one point, I finally decided to try to get up. And that was the worst decision. So I'm like halfway on the bed, halfway off, and I've got one foot on the floor, one leg on the bed, and I'm just ready. I'm almost like ready to let myself fall because it's just like I was in so much pain. I thought I was going to throw up on the bed. I couldn't move. And at that point, she's like, okay, I'm calling 911 now. And at that point, I surrendered. And I was just like, I wasn't like, no. I was just like, oh God, okay, whatever. So I was just like, whatever we could do to make this stop. Okay. So she calls 911. Then like, it's so weird to hear sirens because you hear them all the time. But when they're for you, it's just a whole different thing. You know how you hear them and you're like, oh, I wonder what's happening. I knew what was happening. I wasn't inside. I was on the inside of my own little. Okay, anyways. But so we've got the fire truck and the paramedic both coming, and there's so many people that just piled into my house like all at once. It was bizarre.
Why were there so many people?
I feel like there was at least 6. But only 2 took me to the hospital. But that was an adventure in and of itself. So I still had to like make my way down my steps. So there was still some walking involved. So I had to get up, walk down my steps down to the stretcher, and then get into the stretcher, which I found that like lifting my legs, getting into anything lifting my legs was the most excruciating because I was using my abdominal muscles essentially. So on the way to the hospital, things still continue to escalate. And I've got this paramedic talking about how, basically colon cancer and how he had rectal cancer. And he was like, but I got that from all the CT scans they gave me after I got run over by a car. And he just keeps going. He's like, if you have any bleeding, you should probably get a colonoscopy. And I'm like, cool, bitch. I had one 6 months ago. But, in my brain, I'm just shaking my head. Okay, whatever. Like, I don't even know how to engage with this guy. Yeah. So he's talking about himself. And I'm just thinking I want to die at this point because it's just so painful. He didn't start a line or anything, didn't give me an IV. And in my brain, I'm thinking, whatever pain meds you have on here, I would like them. But I don't like to ask. So we just rode to the hospital. This is the part in shows like ER and Grey's Anatomy, they don't really show you, where you come in by ambulance, but they just roll you over to a hallway bed in front of the nurse's station in the middle of all the chaos, and then they just leave you. And no one comes to your aid. No one gives a fuck. Like, I was just laying there in pain for I don't know how long until someone finally came and started to like check me in. And the nurse I couldn't even see him. He stayed at the station and talked to me over the counter, and I'm laying. So like, I can't. He said my name, and I was just like, he's like, oh, I'm over here. My computer's over here, so I'll just talk to you from here. I'm like, okay. That nurse was the guy who disappeared from there, and I didn't see him. Eventually, I was seen by the doctor, and then he ordered a CT scan and some pain medication. But I didn't get any pain medication for hours because the nurse, like, couldn't find him. And Des finally showed up, and she was trying to like harass people to give me pain medications, like could not find him. Imaging took me to CT before I got any pain meds, or they tried to, but I couldn't even lay on my back. So I was just like, I don't know. I'll try, but I don't know if I can hold still. And Des was just like, no, he cannot hold still for a CT scan. Like, where's the nurse? Where's the pain medication? The doctor's already ordered them. Like, anyone could give me pain meds at this point, and no one is doing it. So finally, I think the imaging lady tracked down the nurse, and then he gave me some fentanyl, which is kind of a weird choice, I feel like. But it did the trick enough for me to lay still in the CT scan, but it didn't last long, and it just kind of took the edge off. But after the shift change happened and that nurse pieced out, the nurses that came in after him were on top of things, and they instantly gave me more. They gave me like Dilaudid, and then they gave me fluids and kind of explained more things and just were a lot more attentive, thank God. So the first experienced nurse was just basically hell, because I just thought it was never going to end. And I heard some other old guy across the hall groaning, and then I was just like, I feel that. I understand. I'm the other man over here groaning in the hallway, and I'm just like, they don't care about anybody here. That's great. So finally, come to find out, kind of not long story short, we had a surgical consult before the doctor came, which was weird. The communication was just all sorts of everywhere. Even the nurses were frustrated, and they were like, I'm sorry, we're just as frustrated, So essentially the doctor's like, CT scan shows that your intestines are basically, they're twisted. I guess it's called like an internal hernia. It's rare. It doesn't happen a lot. So of course it happened to me. So he was like, basically what we got to do is put you on complete bowel rest, which means no water or food by mouth, no ice chips, no nothing, literally, until it resolves. So I went a good amount of time. My mouth was so dry. They were giving me fluids through my IV, but I wanted to drink like out of the toilet at that point. I was like, dogs, I get it. I get it. So I think finally by the next evening, I was able to do clear liquids. And then by the next, we tried to progress to like non-clear liquids. That didn't go well. So they regressed me back to just clear liquids. Then that went a little better. And then finally I was able to get things going, and they wouldn't let me leave till I pooped. So there's your poop for you. So finally by Saturday, I was able to leave because I pooped. So it resolved itself, luckily, without surgery. I think it was kind of a brain fuckery though, because it can happen again, and there's no like preventative thing that you could do. Basically, the doctor was just like, try to stay hydrated and don't get constipated. And so I'm like, well, my whole life is constipation to hydration. So just kidding. But so I've just been kind of like in my head because it was so sore. I don't know if anyone who's experienced this, it's like you feel, it's almost like after a muscle spasm, like the soreness you feel in your muscle, that's what I felt in my intestines. So when I eat things or digest, like I still feel it. So it makes me paranoid. So eating has been especially tricky, and they told me to kind of ease into things. And, you know, my goals are to put on size. So it's been kind of a mind fuck to be like, oof, because I lost like 8 pounds just within the days that I was in the hospital. And, yeah, I think I got down to like 152, and I got up to 158 yesterday, but I went back down to 155 today. So I'm, you know, climbing back up there, but I work so hard to consistently be 160. It's pretty discouraging. And just that fear of, oh my gosh, is it going to happen again? I can honestly say I've not experienced pain on that level yet. So it was a whole new adventure that I hope not to experience again. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you're feeling better at least, and
Yeah.
God, it's
I
scary.
know we were all freaked the fuck out, so it's really cool of you. Don't think for a second that we thought you had a tummy ache, because as soon as you said I'm not going to be able to make the meeting, I was like, because in case people didn't know, he's done this
dead.
podcast sick before. I think even the week prior. So I was like, not go to a meeting. He's in agony. That is concerning. So.
Yeah, and I don't even know what to say to you guys. So I think why I said I had stomach cramps and couldn't get off, I was like, I'm really sick. Like, can't get off the toilet sick, because I didn't know how to explain it. I wasn't like, yeah, I have really bad stomach cramps. Like, that's, I guess, but you're like, okay. So, yeah.
I don't know. I think we trust you enough, so I don't think you're gonna get a.
You need to
have
fill
us
out the
thinking
form.
twice.
You need a doctor's note before we'll accept
Tempting
this.
pain.
You didn't do a PTO request, actually.
Man,
so-
I wish. That's the hardest thing, though. Like, when you own your own business, you don't get to just be sick. I think that was probably the hardest, most stressful thing, because I had calls that day. I had one that day and one the next day, and I completely missed. It was a new client. I was so stressed. Des had to email them for me to, you know, tell them, but like, I feel so bad. But then you still get these emails, and you just, work doesn't stop when you own your own business. Like, it just can't. So yeah, it's just a lot. I'm still kind of recovering from it all, because I feel like I got to catch up, but then also didn't really get to rest either.
Yeah. It wasn't like you were
No,
eating bonbons.
that
so.
would be a better vacation for sure. So,
Aye. Well, we're happy to have you back.
Sorry for that long ass story.
No, it's good stuff. Well, it's not
That's
good stuff.
okay. So
It's poop stuff. So thank you.
It's poop
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
All right, so I think today's topic, though, you guys want to go on into that,
Yeah,
because we did
let's
have
do
one
it.
planned. So we're talking about functional training
Yes.
today.
What is that?
It's a fancy
What is
word
that?
for bullshit.
Well,
Eh.
it is something that people
Yeah,
use to
it's a
sell.
marketing word, I feel
In my
like.
opinion, it is a marketing word. So I feel like people often see functional training and see like kettlebells and doing weird things, and or CrossFit. And I think that's usually what people think of when they think of functional training.
I remember, I did CrossFit before I did bodybuilding, and they frowned upon bodybuilding, and they frowned upon things like bicep curls and stuff like that. They would make a joke of it, and they would make a joke about the mirrors in bodybuilding or in gyms, just things like that, because basically CrossFit is marketed as functional training. And they're like, bodybuilding, it doesn't make sense for your everyday life and needs. Like, CrossFit is functional. And I'm trying, like, they make it make sense for, people who are naive like I was. But when you really think hard enough, like, where in the world are we clean and jerking barbells, over and over again? Where else are we, deadlifting, then doing 20 crunches, and then like doing stupid ass toes to bar, or wall balls, and doing that for as many rounds as possible for 80 minutes. I don't know, I feel like everything is functional depending on what you're training for. It's not just CrossFit is the only functional in life training things. Like, you can gain strength and be just as functional if you're doing bodybuilding. I don't know.
Yeah, strength and mobility.
Yeah, right. And a lot of what they are doing is like, it's not a program. Like, it's just a random workout to make you sweat a lot and feel like you worked. It's not like progressive overload. There's not a ton of like research or science or any kind of thought, to be completely frank, behind the workouts, so that it's really just let's make it hard. And I think it's just so frustrating, because it does do like some things well, I think, CrossFit, and this is a little bit of an offshoot, but I think they market well. I think they made avenues into that allowed the culture to kind of change how they think of women and what like fit women look like. Because I think they made strength cool for women, which I think is very cool. They do a really good job with their community aspects of their gyms and their philosophy. I really like that. But other than that, it's a sweatbox that's very cheap to have.
But yet they charge $1 million.
Yes, which is always funny, I thought. But it's like, I've priced out a CrossFit gym before, back a long time ago, and it's not expensive because it's just a warehouse.
Yep, and their
with a rig.
The initial cost is expensive, but there's not maintenance. It's not machines. Once you buy it, as long as people aren't taking axes to it, then it's gonna last. So, yeah, they charge anywhere between 150 above a month. Like 150 is the low end, I feel like, for CrossFit boxes, and I guarantee you 100% that the coach that I was trained under was just throwing up random workouts every single day without any thought. But, as long as it's hard, people are thinking it's working. So, yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, because it's not like they don't do a ton of unilateral stuff, which is like, so I like a lot of unilateral stuff, meaning that you're doing one arm, one leg, or things like that, because people move. Like, you tend to move not in one plane of motion, but all the things that people talk about as functional, like not moving in one plane, or using one body part, or focusing on core as the whole core, as other than just abs. None of that is covered in CrossFit. Sometimes functional training, if you're looking for a functional program and that's what you're looking for, sometimes they'll take that into account, but I think a lot of it is just not that.
Yeah,
it's just not.
I agree. What do you think, Seth?
I
Yeah.
think that I'm the only one here who didn't go through a CrossFit phase. I I w- I have been interested, earlier on in my, I guess fitness journey, like in one of my false starts. But overall, I think ironically, what didn't appeal to me was like it it looks like you get so sweaty. And I know that sounds stupid, but when you're not fit and you're just like, ugh, I can't. Um, and the price too. Like I didn't really understand how they could charge so much. Still don't. But if people pay, it's a great business model, and like you just outlined, it's incredibly profitable to own one if you can get enough members. And I mean, these days, is with their affiliations kind of going away and it being more of implied CrossFit rather than it being associated with the larger sphere of CrossFit. I mean, I don't know. I like looking at the mirror because I can see if my form's good or not. It's like when you're in there, you just got to rely on your buddy telling you something. Or, I mean, I'm saying all this out of my ass because I've, never done it before. But I think there's, I mean, I've watched
that's how it
CrossFit
is.
games before. What they do is impressive. Like at the high level, like I don't understand how they that's like some SEAL level shit. But I mean, I guess I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me personally. Whatever floats your boat. I think it's good if it makes people like do something as far as fitness, if it appeals to them, if they like the community, because I think a lot of commercial gyms lack that sense of community, and some people really want/need that, and that's why we offer the Lab Fitness community. You can come and be a part of our community, but
That was great.
I mean, truthfully, I can see how it could appeal to some. It's definitely better, way better than nothing. But
and sorry, go for it.
Yeah, and
I was gonna say, like,
no, go ahead.
Like Cal mentioned, it does have its positives, and I feel like the community, when it was good, when before it got. The problem with the communities too, I feel
Toxic.
like it gets toxic at some point, and it gets a little culty, it gets a little clicky, and it did, and it was kind of a sad point in my life when I ended up leaving, because I left because of the community. So it's like, for one reason, I stayed because of the community, but also I left because of the community, and well, mostly the coach because he was just a dick. But it's like it could have its plus and minuses, but I stayed for so long because it did help. Like, you just had to get yourself there, and then once you were there, you're basically peer pressured into working out, or you're not going to not work out when the rest of the people there are also working out. So it is helpful if you're someone who has some motivation issues or needs a little jump start, because as soon as you get your foot in the door, all you gotta do is get there. The rest, you will be pushed into the rest. It's not so much the same if you're working out at home or working out at a gym. You can leave whenever you want. However, I will say, even with gyms now, walking in and walking out 5 minutes later is not something that I would personally want to be witnessed. But you can, and usually no one will say anything. But it is helpful if you need some accountability just to get there, push you to just work out. But that being said, it has its limitations. After a certain amount of time, you're not going to see the progress because the programs are not really geared to progress. So you hit that stagnant point, but also it's very intense. So you can only handle so much, and you're kind of burnt. You're going to burn out, and you start realizing how non-functional the functional fitness is, or you start getting little injuries here and there, and
or you get big injuries.
Big injuries. Yeah,
a massive injury. Well, and I think a lot of it can, in my opinion, is almost like healthy lifestyle. At least the box that I was going to. So the one I was going to was like you stay for beers, and then like I remember a lot of the people were doing macros, and they're like, well, I want to be able to drink after class, so I'm going to save all my macros so I can drink, which isn't necessarily a great thing. Balance is always good, but we want to, but not that kind of balance, really. because it wasn't a lot of it based on the food. I remember also that like I'm sure everybody has seen CrossFit pull-ups. Yeah, that aren't real.
Kipping.
So
pull-ups.
the kipping pull-ups or butterfly pull-ups, and I just remember. So I was working out with a one of my good friends who was a coach there for a while. He was a physical therapist. So he had really strict rules when he was coaching. So you weren't allowed to kip unless you could do 5 strict pull-ups. And that was like a hard and fast rule. He's like, you can't. I will kick you or like hit you with a PVC pipe. Like he's not fucking around because he's like, that's how you like tear your shoulders apart. And so like I worked super hard because I really wanted to be able to do pull-ups. So I remember I got mine and then like he left and then all these people started doing kipping pull-ups, and I just remember seeing people's I'm like, your shoulders are going to fall off. They're going to fall off. And I just don't understand. I just don't think it's good.
I think they finally admitted that. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead. Admitted what?
I think they finally admitted that the kipping pull-ups were bullshit. It's just like, I don't know if it was like Greg Glassman or someone in the realm of whoever created it was just like, yeah, they're pretty dumb. I can't remember though.
That's
yeah, because an injury led me to my end of CrossFit days, and so for everybody who doesn't know, I fucked up my back really bad doing. I don't remember if it was wall balls or I think it was wall balls. I don't really remember, but I got a herniated disc that I just kept working out through, and it ended up rupturing. And so I didn't know this, but apparently your discs are like jelly filled. So like when the jelly came out, it landed on a bunch of nerves, and those nerves were like, oh, this is not good, and they get essentially shut down. So the big nerve that went down from like my low back down to my feet all went numb. So I couldn't move my foot properly, like at all, because I couldn't pick up my toes. So that muscle in front of your shin, I didn't have any feeling in, so I couldn't pick up my foot. So I couldn't run. I couldn't walk properly. They call it a drop foot because you kind of like walk like Frankenstein or Igor, and it still isn't all the way healed. Like I still don't feel that muscle in my shin, but I can pick up my foot mostly now. So
that's intense.
It's very strange, but that was my CrossFit end.
That's intense. I also hurt my back in CrossFit, but I think it was a mix between deadlifts and squats, maybe both in the same. Because that's what you did. You would do deadlifts, you would do squats, you would do them back to back, and then go for a mile run. And so I definitely did something with the discs. I still have like bulging discs in my back, along with arthritis and shit like that. But that was originated in CrossFit, so I still also feel that. I didn't burst my herniated disc, thank God, but it's there. So CrossFit's real good for low back problems, meaning they will create the problem for you. They will not fix it though.
Well, and it's like the same thing. Like with bodybuilding, you get sloppy, or like just with any working out, you get sloppy once you get tired. But CrossFit's whole brand is like, we want you to be tired the whole time, essentially. And then we're not going to look at your form, because I don't know about you guys, but any CrossFit coach, I knew a couple good ones, but like most of them were like college kids who will take $20 to stand here for an hour.
Yeah, mine was not. He was probably about 35, which is weird to think about. Now I'm that age, but he eventually hired on other coaches, or didn't really. It was like people from the community. They like, I remember 4 or 5 o'clock classes. Literally, the coach would be drinking a beer during the class. Wasn't really coaching, but would be drinking a beer. And I never partied up until CrossFit, I drank more during that time in my whole entire lifetime. So CrossFit is not healthy, and it made me the least healthy I've ever been in my life. I would drink like every weekend, and they had beer. They had a keg. We had a fucking keg in. So it's
Yeah,
like
we
a
had a
thing.
keg.
I don't know what it is. If they're like really just, it's like they try to be healthy, but then they rebel against the health at the same time. I don't know what it is. They're just like, oh, we're so hardcore. These rules don't apply to us, so we're gonna drink. I don't know. I don't know.
I take back what I said.
It's very frat boy vibe. Whenever I think of CrossFit, it's very frat
I
boy
was gonna
vibe.
say the beer reminds me of Planet Fitness pizza parties.
Yes, exactly. That's pretty close to what
It's
it's
like-
almost like they're like, hey, we're cool still, don't worry.
Yeah, and it makes you kind of want to be like, and for the average person, like pizza and working out and being healthy can all coexist, but they shouldn't probably coexist in the exact same place.
No.
I don't know. I feel like they're compartmentalized a little bit, maybe.
I feel like
Get
that
my cheese
happens
slice
even,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I think that even happens within the realm of coaches, or especially on the internet, right? I think that there's this thing where coaches love to show their cheat meals or show when they're eating something not healthy, because they're like, look, I can still eat cake. And it's like, cool. But how many years has it been since you had this cake? But now you're showing it to the internet like this is your everyday thing and you're practicing balance, because I don't want to be that person, like I want to be like, dude, if you have goals, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. And sure, I'll show you if I have a cheat meal worth showing, but that's not really the reality. I feel like that's what kind of CrossFit was trying to do with the drinking, and Planet Fitness with the pizza, because they're like, we are not body shaming you. Go ahead and eat all the foods, but you can work out here and then maybe get more fit. And it's just like, okay, what's the, are we going to reach these goals, or are we just going to add in a few bicep curls with the pizza? So
It kind of sounds like if you get fit in that circumstance, it's in spite of.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
absolutely. Yeah, but so functional fitness is
No,
not very
or
functional.
it's just a term, because like bodybuilding is functional
just a
for us
term.
because we need to grow our biceps to get on stage. But obviously it wouldn't be functional for like a 95-year-old woman who just wants to not fall, right? So what is functional for one person is not functional for the other person, but we can't just use this generalized term to cover just one specific modality of exercise.
But if
Or to shame
but
other
if Brandy
exercises.
has jacked buys, she could probably get her ass up and pick your ass
True.
up too. Because I do. There's some old ladies in my gym who are absolutely jacked. And the other day, I saw a guy who looked like Platts, but 20 years older. And he kept pulling up his shorts too. And I was like, I almost wanted to walk up and be like, I just want to know how at your age you have quads like that, because and that would sound like super backhanded. It would be better off to be like, dude, I mean, his quads were I'm pretty speechless. He had to be at least like, how old is Platts? He's like
I don't know.
older
No idea.
than us. But I would assume this guy was at least
He was
in his
probably
early
like
60s.
he was probably like 40, but you're just so young, you can't tell.
He's like a grandfather. He could be my dad. He's 40. No, a 40-year-old could not be my father.
Well, maybe not.
Oh,
But
shit.
I knew you were
Yeah.
going to say that.
Yeah.
I could see it in your face. Like you're like, I'm going to say it.
I was trying to do
Not
math,
ethically.
but it didn't work out so well.
No. I did that.
Okay, that's good enough. Okay. But yeah, can you think of
Oh.
any actual functional fuck? Can you think of any actual functional
What, you want to try that again?
movements that, okay, say, all right, so say someone, like, I feel like there's some functional stuff for the older population, especially. Yes,
Farmer's
those are
carries.
definitely functional because you got to carry your groceries in and out of the house and shit like that.
Yeah.
I do think that deadlifts to an extent, are functional because you got to lift shit off the ground. You got to know how to do that, right? Doesn't mean
Hip thrusts.
okay. Well, that's sexually functional, I would say. So yeah, it's true.
It's functional.
Yeah,
It's for a function.
yep.
So
What
I would
else?
argue that most movements in tandem, like particularly like bodybuilding training, if you're properly training all muscle groups, particularly like lower body and your back, like that's going to be functional through your life. Like if you have a strong back and strong hammies and strong quads, you can pretty much you can take all those tests. You know, the doctors say, like, you know, if you can stand up without putting your hand down or your knee, things like that. There's all kinds of things that are like, I mean, if you're strengthening those muscles, you're strengthening those tendons, those joints, etc., as long as you're doing it safely. I would think that if you're doing that, then I mean, maybe it's like if your tries aren't like popping out of your shirt, that's one thing, but like in general, it's like the core parts of your body that allow you to stand and to walk and to pick things up are strong, then you're probably going to be better off when you're older.
Yeah, I would say I think where bodybuilding or bodybuilders miss the mark is you notice that we are the least flexible people on the face of the planet, but also not so great cardio wise because the bigger you are, the harder it is. So, you know, we witnessed at the Olympia watching like a 300-pound man run off the stage, and it was impressive.
So funny.
So, like, when you look funny running because you're so big, that's not very functional, obviously. But we know that bodybuilding is not the pursuit of health, but bodybuilding style training is definitely a functional way of training. Just got to make sure you're also, you know, getting the cardiovascular benefits. Make sure you're walking, running, whatever. Cover all the bases, because if you're just doing the bodybuilding thing, not going to be very flexible, not going to be able to run very far if you need to.
I just want to be a meat monster. Huge difference between like a 212 guy and a, you know, class A physique. Like, there's going to be, I would imagine, what's his name? Evans? Is that the current Mr. Olympia men's physique? Chris Evans. That's not Chris Evans. Different. I think his name's out. Anyway, so you know that guy's doing cardio, and I think watching some of his prep stuff, like hauling ass. But Sean, you know, I mean, he does cardio, but really mostly towards the end of prep, and it's mostly just walking on the treadmill, and that's something. But you know, Evans was running.
Yeah, or stairs or something like that. You don't see a lot of bodybuilders choosing running, especially for prep, because it is, you know, more intense, and there's that whole like, well, what if I lose more muscle mass that way and stuff like that. So, but generally, I feel like bodybuilders just hate running because you're heavy and it's not great for your joints.
Yeah, I can't really run well. Not because I'm too big, but because my foot is all fucked up. But
too big, Cal.
No. But I think just keeping your body, like the joints moving. So I think that's one thing bodybuilding does really well, is kind of harkening back to what Seth said, is like moving all the joints through all the ranges of motion. If you're doing it balanced, it is a good thing. Like things that don't move, don't stop working. You know, so
and a lot of people don't know, you know, especially as you get older, your bone density starts going down. But strength training, it strengthens your bones as well, not just your muscles. So something to keep in mind if you're getting older, like myself, you have to pay more attention. Yeah,
technically, we're all getting.
If you're
older.
just running, it's not going to be great. Your bones are going to start to get a little brittle as you get older. So the more you can strength train, the better off you'll be. So if you do fall, you won't break anything. You'll just fall, you know?
Yeah, I saw something really cool recently. You guys might have seen this infographic floating around as well, and I looked into it, and it is accurate. It was cross-section of two 65-plus-year-old men. I think one of them was like 70 and one of them was 68. Either way, one of them cross section of the leg was probably at least a third of the, more than that, of the diameter of the leg was just adipose tissue, and the lean tissue was just like a little circle, like think of like a donut, and then the adipose tissue was like the actual donut, and then the hole was where the the lean tissue was. And then they took that the 70-year-old who was doing bodybuilding type training and had been consistently throughout his life. Did I say what part of the body this was? The
leg,
the quad. It was his quad. Oh, okay, good. I was like cross section of his whole ass body. Anyway, I mean, we are all donuts technically, but the quad of the bodybuilder guy, basically, like, there was almost no adipose tissue on his quad, and it was just all lean tissue, and the bone was clearly thicker because it was at the same, like, what's the Zoom or whatever. So I just thought that was really cool, and it's really encouraging because eventually all of us will hang it up and we'll be transitioning into longevity type activities, but we can keep a lot of that bodybuilding type training. I mean, basically until you're in the ground, health permitting.
Yeah, I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was like training until like she was dead, essentially. I remember seeing those videos of her doing push-ups. Yeah. I'm like, damn.
Awesome. I didn't know she trained and stuff. I just saw her.
She had a personal trainer. Yeah,
awesome. She after her stroke. She had a stroke or something. But yeah, I'm super inspired by older folks. On the grind.
Same.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is one guy who comes to my gym though, and he's older, and he always wears jeans.
I don't know how you wear jeans, but
just
jeans.
Just jeans and naked. They smell real good.
It's that raw denim,
They stand up by themselves.
Maybe that's why he wears them, for support. Yeah,
like a cast.
If it wasn't for the pants, he'd just fall right over. Have you seen him bend his knees? Yeah. Yeah, it's an exoskeleton. Oh shit. Well, this is an enjoyable podcast for everyone, I'm sure. We talked a little bit about
a little all over the place.
Anything else? So we're just guessing that everything else is fair game. We could talk about pee, So
or vomit.
Oh yeah, I did say I almost threw up. So
I did think you were double dragoning.
I assumed.
I thought
that's my first.
I wish I was. That would have been at least more relieving. But unfortunately, it was just nothing.
I thought it was karma for us. Yeah, so when you first said it, I assumed it was like karma for us all making fun of yours for getting it, be like, man, he's got a food safety is important.
Food poisoning.
Excuse me, but I defended him. You should have gotten that karma.
You said, and let's see if I'll actually say it. You were like, he might have not known, what was it? Food safety standards or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if that counts as making fun of him, but
that's fair. I was like, "Ooh, he's got a tummy ache." Oh. Well, now it's me, boys. Knock on wood.
I know you should have gotten the tummy ache for that one because you're like, who goes to the hospital for food poisoning? I'm like, well, a lot of people.
And then you know what else is if it had been me, you'd have been like, man, that little shit's always going to the doctor.
Sure as fuck would be. I'd be like, Jesus, dude.
It's his third ambulance ride of the month. Man, he's gonna break his quarterly metrics.
He must have coughed real hard this time.
Mom, I threw up.
Oh man, yeah. I'm just waiting for all the hospital bills. I've only gotten a few so far. I got the ambulance bill, which was hilarious because they offered me a very generous discount of $2,000 something. So that was just, it made me laugh because they thought that was a discount. It was a 6-minute ride, and the guy talked about his rectum, and they didn't even start a line or give me any drugs. So fuck them.
It's just a really expensive
Uber, man. I didn't think I was even gonna be able to get in the car though, so that's why Des just call 911. But yeah. Anyways,
That's fair.
oh,
Power talk time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Did anybody have anything else?
I don't think so. How about anyone else? I think we're all over the place. I feel like even more so than usual.
A little bit.
But power talk.
Yeah. We had a lot to cover. It's because
Yeah,
people missed
I'm
us.
sure they did miss us a lot. And our poop talk. All right. So, power talk. This one is by Benjamin Disraeli. I don't know who that is. But it says, action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. So, I always like to encourage folks, take action. Enough is enough. Stop talking shit. Stop saying shit and actually do the shit you're supposed to do. Because eventually you and everyone else around you is going to get tired of your bullshit. So you got to take action if you ever want to get anything done. That was not very motivational, but maybe it will inspire someone to take action. I'm tired of everyone's bullshit, okay?
We just use the power talk.
Fair enough.
Each other like, and
this one's for you today. No, I'm just kidding.
Nudge,
I will say too, there's another. Okay, I couldn't find it, but there is a bit of a power talk that I think hits home. I don't know. It's something that I like to replay in my mind a lot, and it makes me think a lot. And it's not that important. It's not even a great quote. It's just a situation. Okay, so I watch a lot of Kobe Bryant because he's just makes me feel better about being obsessed with shit. Okay, so in one of his interviews, he talks about having these moments where before he went pro and stuff, when he was just playing basketball, whether it was high school or whatever. And I think some people asked, like, did you ever think that you would get to play with Michael Jordan or all these people? Like, did you ever think that you would get to that level? And then he said something along the lines of, I didn't know if I could ever get to that level, but I was just like, well, let's find out. And I fucking love that, because there's so many times where you question what you're doing. You're thinking, am I doing this for nothing? Am I ever going to get there? But the fact that he didn't even care if he got there, he was just like, let's find out. So that plays over in my mind when I'm doubting myself. It's like, I don't know, but let's find out. So that's kind of where I'm at a lot of the times, where I'm just like, I don't know if this is for nothing. I don't know if I'm ever going to make it to get my pro card or win my class or whatever, but I'm sure as hell going to try and find out. So that's like the real power talk I would rather express, but I just didn't know how to do it.
I like that.
I'll try to find
That's really good.
I'll share it with you guys. Cool.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's really good.
Well,
That's a good
now
power
that we've
talk.
talked about everything and nothing all at the same time. We do, however, have a new challenge that just launched. We're only a few days in, still enough time to come and jump in, because a lot of people fizzle out by the end, so you're not behind. Come on in, participate. The water's fine. It's great, and you could win. You can win things. Who doesn't like to win things, right? So, yeah. All right.
Hell yeah.
Is that it? Join.
Now.
www.yourfitlab.com. Go there, or be square. Thanks, SpongeBob.